Heavyweight boxing fans, what's the deal? All right, man. So, a few days ago, Deontay Wilder came out. He's very frustrated with the Luis Ortiz situation, and understandably so, in my opinion. Some of you may think it's a big conspiracy, and that's fine, man. I'm not going to argue with any of you about that. If you think it is, that's cool. Me, I think these dudes are a felon test, all right? So we may agree or disagree on that. But one thing that I disagree with Deontay Wilder is him going at Legend's resume. And the legend he went at was Mike Tyson. Now I understand that him and Mike have an ongoing thing right now where they're throwing jabs at each other. I've heard Mike kind of be dismissive of Deontay Wilder. And, Wilder, he doesn't like it. He looks at it like, hey, man, I'm a fellow American. You should be supporting me before you support a guy like Anthony Joshua, so on and so forth. So they have a little personal thing going, all right? But Wilder, in my opinion, he comes off as like Mike was just like, okay, or something, or he was great for his time. He was all right, that type of thing, where it's like, dude, Mike is a legend, man. You know, um, Now I watch Blood Boxing. Shout out to Blood. Shout out to Boxing Beats and Rhymes. Shout out to Boxing Librarian. So if you watch those videos, I was gonna do a long video, man, but this is really to me. If you've been watching boxing as long as me, or maybe even longer, maybe some of you guys are watching in the '60s and '70s. Me, I started watching in the '80s. This is pretty self-explanatory, really, man. I mean, Wilder went on to say, who did Mike Tyson beat? As if he beat bums. Who did he beat? And don't tell me he beat Larry Holmes. And how many Hall of Famers did he fight? And it's like, well, Wilder, I mean, we have to wait to see the guys on Wilder's resume, where they end up in the next 10 years. Will they go down as Hall of Famers? I'm not sure if Berman Stavern is going to be a Hall of Famer. I wouldn't put my money on it. I guess we have to sit and wait. But Larry Holmes, right? When he says Larry Holmes also, after he lost to Mike years later, he went on to beat a young, hungry, former gold medalist, guy that held on to the WBO title before it was really recognized as a title. He beat Francisco Damian. He actually came back and won the fight. He beat Ray Mercer. Shouts out to Blood. He beat high top fade Ray Mercer. You know what I mean? So yes, he was past his prime, but Larry knew how to fight. One thing about them guys, man, them old guys, is, and this is what I don't see nowadays, is them dudes knew how to fight when they were tired. Them dudes would be dead tired, put 4, 5, 6, 7 punch combinations together. You know what I'm saying? So, yes, Larry was past his prime and he was off. You know what I mean? But Larry also went on to beat Mercer. He gave Holyfield hell. If you go watch that fight, I actually watched that fight like a couple weeks ago. He gave Holyfield hell, man. You know what I'm saying? It's funny about that fight. Larry Holmes was saying to Holyfield, Holyfield wouldn't even be known in my era if he was boxing in the '70s. I remember Holmes saying that. But anyways, and then, Tyrell Biggs. Tyrell Biggs was a gold medalist. He was 15-0 the time Mike Tyson fought him. In today's era, when we see guys that are undefeated, 15, 16, 17, 20-0, whatever, and they're gold medalists, people look at them as top contenders, top, blue chip type of prospects. Mike ran through Biggs. Tony Tucker was undefeated, big 6'5" with a jab, from Detroit. Dude can fight, man. He was a title holder. Tyson beat him. Tyson beat Pinky Thomas. All these were solid contenders. James Smith, James Bone Crusher Smith, Tyson beat him. He had the title. Burbick had a title. You know what I'm saying? And Mike coming up, Marvis Frazier was looked at. He was a good amateur, son of Joe Frazier. His one loss prior to fighting Mike, he had lost to Holmes when he got knocked out. In Mike's early fights, man, Mike was fighting like a week apart. It was, Mike didn't need 4 or 5 months to fight these dudes when he was coming up. He was literally fighting dudes 2, 3 weeks apart. And another thing is Mike was doing this during his run, his great run. He was 19, 20, 21 years old, 22, man. This was a young kid. People often say now, oh, guys are young. Today if we look at prospects, we say, like, for instance, Joseph Parker, he's a young champion. 25, try Mike Tyson, 20. 20. What's 20? Is that a sophomore in college? You know what I'm saying? So Wilder's way off, man. He's way off in my opinion. Mitch Green was a solid guy coming up. James Tillis, all these guys were solid type of guys, and Mike was running through these guys on, you know, a couple weeks notice. You know what I'm saying? Tillis fight, he took that, what, 2 months? He did this shit pretty quick, man. He turned pro March of 85, and he was a title holder. Let me see when he beat Berbick. November of 86. The very next calendar year, he was champion in his pro career, man. And people are acting like this is like some just, he didn't really beat nobody. And he was a fucking kid. And then he was undisputed champion. And then he came full circle and beat Spinks, who was the lineal champion. And then he say, don't give me Spinks because he was scared. It's not Mike Tyson's fault that Spinks was scared. Who fucking fault is that? Michael Spinks is one of the best, and that's one thing that you didn't mention. Spinks is one of the best light heavyweights of all time. Not just for the 80s, of all time. Spinks is one of the best. He beat Larry Holmes. He's the one that ended Larry Holmes' win streak. Now, we can argue if he actually beat Larry Holmes. That's a whole nother video of them two fights, in my opinion. But it's going to go down in history as Spinks has 2 wins over then undefeated Larry Holmes. Wilder is not undisputed. Now, some of you may say, oh, he's calling people out and they won't fight him. Nobody get, okay, but he's not undisputed, right? He's not even a unified champion. Have to see what his career pans out to be, man. Tony Tubbs was a solid fighter, man. It's easy to look at these guys, and Blood mentioned this too. It's easy to look at these guys, go on YouTube real quick and look at them on the back end of their career when they shouldn't, you know, past their prime, watching them and say, oh, that guy. But Tony Tubbs was solid. You know what I mean? Tony Tubbs was solid. Frank Bruno was solid. Carlo Truth Williams was solid. Williams, I thought it's debatable that he beat Larry Holmes. Buster, and all these dudes were top 10 type of heavyweights at the time. Buster Douglas, I know that's the upset. You look at Douglas' skill set, he was a really good fighter. You know? Alex Stewart, when Tyson beat him, I believe Ring had Stewart number 10, I believe. I should have, I looked it up earlier. I believe he was number 10. All right? Tillman was a Olympian. What, he win gold? He's the one that beat Mike in the Olympic trials. Mike ran him over as a pro. Razor Ruddock. I mean, come on. This is just crazy. I don't get how Wilder has any room to talk about Mike Tyson's resume. It's one thing to talk about Dillian White and these current guys, but Mike Tyson? At this time he fought Ruddock, you guys can go watch the old fights or just look up old articles. They were saying around this time that Ruddock had the best left hand in the game. I believe that was on the HBO telecast. What they were saying that, and it's, I mean, you can go look up old articles at this time. I'm talking about 91, 90. They were saying Ruddock has one of the best left hands in the game because he had that smash punch and he had a good snapping jab when he would throw it. Now I know it's easy to say, well, Ruddock, he got blown out by Lennox Lewis and Morris. Oh, well, yeah, I mean, but at the time Mike fought him, he was very dangerous. Buster Masters Jr., undefeated. Then he fought Bruno again. Selden. Yes, he lost to Holyfield. Holyfield's arguably one of the best heavyweights of all time. Lennox Lewis, yeah, he lost to Lennox when he was past his prime. You say don't count Larry Holmes because he was past his prime. That doesn't make any sense because now you're counting Mike's losses, his loss to Lennox when he was past his prime. Now, you may say, well, Lennox and Mike around the same age. Yeah, but Lennox aged better than Mike did. Mike was done at the end where Lennox was still in his groove. You know what I mean? Mike was phenomenal early. Lennox was phenomenal later on in his career. He was really good early, but you know what I'm saying? He was, to me, he was more polished later in his career. Where Mike was phenomenal early at 19, 20, 21 years old. Galata was another solid one that turned into a no contest. And then, you know, Mike at the end, like the McBride and Danny Williams and ATN and all that, you know, that was at the end, man. Beat Franz Botha. Fran Botha was 39-1 at the time. Botha's only loss was to Michael Moore, I believe. These are solid wins, man. Bruce Seldon was a title holder. I mean, I don't know, man. Mike gets out of prison, and then Mike had what? That gap between, let me see exactly, 91 and 95. 4 years away from the sport, man. Who knows what he could have done in them 4 years in the early 90s? Who knows what Mike would have done in 92, 93, 94? Who knows? You know, and I didn't do a video right away because all this took place during the time that Ortiz had this failed test, or uh, was it blood pressure? I don't know, fucking know no more. I don't even care, man. But and I didn't want to take the spotlight off Ortiz and turn into let's just bash Wilder because he said something, in my opinion, that was crazy. Nah, I didn't want to do that quite yet. I wanted to see what's going to happen with this Ortiz thing, and I didn't want to turn into let's bash Wilder when Ortiz should be the one getting bashed as far as this failed drug test or whatever's going on. But yeah, when he said it, I was just shaking my head like, damn, Deontay, like I was riding with you, man. Then you went out and said this shit, like, you know what I mean? But I can go deep into this, but there's really not much to go deep into, in my opinion, man. Guy was undisputed champion. He beat the lineal champion. I mean, he's done everything that Deontay has not done yet. And if, I know people want to say, well, Wilder could have beat all them guys. I don't know about that. Yeah, you're awkward, tall, and rangy with a solid right hand, but Mike Tyson had a chin, man. It's gonna take more than one right hand. Mike had a chin on him. And head to head, I think Mike blows Deontay Wilder out the water. I think he stops him within 4 or 5 rounds. But guys like Holyfield, Tyson, Lennox, Ali, Larry Holmes, Joe Louis, Marciano, in my opinion, I think that's a different level. Right now, Wilder has to worry about Anthony Joshua and guys like that, man, getting through his era. Joseph Parker, and the list goes on and on. And some of the upcoming guys is going to make noise here in the next 4 or 5 years. Some of those prospects I do videos on, Yoka and guys like that, Daniel Dubois and Darmani Rock, and some of these guys somebody's going to emerge. You know what I mean? This isn't just going to be Wilder and Joshua type of thing for the next 4 or 5. It might be, but usually those prospects do emerge. So then you got guys like Miller and White. You still have other guys out there. It's unfortunate that he couldn't get the fights against Povetkin and Ortiz, because that could have done nothing but add to his resume. But Alex Stewart was a good win. I don't know, man. Look at Deontay Wilder's resume here. Gerald Washington, decent win. Spilka, Duopa, Molina, Areola, Stavern, when he first beat him, Liakovic. Harrison was the gold medal winner, but he was way past it by the time Wilder fought him. Was that his last fight? Was that I believe that was Harrison's last fight. Let me see. Yep, it was. So I don't know, man. Deontay Wilder's entitled to his own opinion. If he think Mike Tyson was just okay and it was all right, and how many Hall of Famers he beat and all that type of thing, that's his opinion. But me as a fan, I think Wilder's way off, and he doesn't. Mike Tyson, in my opinion, is levels above Deontay Wilder. Wilder has to finish his career first. Maybe after he's done, then we can revisit this. But right now, it's not even close. It's not even close. Yeah, it's not even close in my opinion, man.